Welcome to IELTS Easy. Listening 3. Locking on to the main idea. To do well in the listening test, you must clearly identify the main subject being discussed. This lesson will teach you how to effectively identify and lock onto the main idea.
Here are goals for this lesson. Take some time to carefully read them, and when you're ready, students, each section of the listening exam is structured around a specific topic or subject. Obviously, for you to be able to correctly answer the questions in a section, you must be able to identify and understand what the main topic of the section is about. However, this is not always easy. Many different words and phrases could be used by the speaker in discussing the topic, which can be confusing for students. To overcome this confusion, you must learn to do three things. Firstly, identify important words and phrases in the questions. I refer to these as key words. Secondly, you must be able to clearly identify and understand the main topic being discussed. I refer to this as locking on to the main idea. The quicker you learn to do this, the better you will do in the listening test. Thirdly, it's important to realize the key words you see written in front of you in the test booklet are often not the words you will hear in the audio part of the listening test. Instead, words with similar meanings may be used. Successful IELTS candidates need to take the key words and anticipate how they might be expressed in other ways. As synonyms. A synonym is a word of similar meaning. In this lesson, I'm going to outline important techniques to help you in these three key areas. Before I explain some specific techniques, I think it's important to outline the types of listening scenarios you will encounter in the listening exam. The IELTS listening scenarios are all taken from real-world, social situations. In other words, events that you could expect to encounter in real life. They're generally situations common to study and living in an English-speaking country. On the screen I have listed some of the possible examples of the types of scenarios that would fit into this category. Study the list and then try and think of other study and living type situations that you might expect to encounter. It helps to know that listening topics will broadly fit into these two categories. Knowing these general categories will help you to be able to predict the kind of words that you might hear in the test. This can better help you in locking on to main ideas. As I mentioned, in the exam it is vitally important to clearly know the main idea being discussed. In each listening section, students, it's possible to identify the main idea before you hear one word on the audio. In fact, you shouldn't wait until the audio starts. You should aim to identify the main idea by analyzing the questions in the test booklet. You should do this in your perusal time before each section of audio starts. As you peruse the questions in the test booklet, you should highlight the key words. Now don't be afraid to write on the test booklet. Key words are important words that will help you to identify the main idea. Key words are typically nouns, adverbs or adjectives, special words that are not repeated across all questions. Now, as you read through the questions, think what the upcoming topic of discussion might be about. Ask yourself, is there a pattern in these questions? What is the main idea? You should aim to identify the main topic very quickly. As you have very limited time, the main idea should begin to develop in your mind as you read more questions. Once you've highlighted the key words, it's time to think about the main idea. When you think you have identified a possible main idea or two, write them down on the test paper. Writing them down will help you verify that your choice of main idea is correct. When the audio starts, highlighting key words also has another advantage. Key words are very important words that you should listen for in the audio. Many answers will draw on these words. Remember, you do not need to understand every word. If you highlight key words and think about them, you'll be able to locate them more efficiently when you hear the words actually spoken. Let's look at this process in action. Let's imagine you turn over your test paper and you find a question similar to the one on your screen. Now there will be more than one question in each section. But let's just take a look at this question. Question 3. Immediately your eye should see the words caller, enquiring, conference discount, cheap party rate, attendees and Manchester. These are the keywords in question 3. the words which are used in support of the main topic. Think about these words. What do you think might be the main idea? What do you expect the audio to be about? It should start to become quite clear to you after reading the question. The key words in this question indicate that it's about a booking for a conference for one or possibly more people, and that the person may even be trying to find some kind of accommodation. So before you have actually heard any of the audio at all, you can start to put together a mental picture of what the listening section will be about. An alert IELTS candidate should always try to make connections between the key words and main idea as they read. And remember, all this happened before you actually hear any audio at all. As you've seen, it's possible to identify the main idea by locating key words in the test booklet. However, there's another problem that students face regarding key words. In many cases, the key words you see in the questions are those you will actually hear in the audio. However, very often, the words and phrases written in the test booklet questions will not be those you will hear in the audio. Instead, you'll hear words or phrases with similar meanings. This is where students have problems. Why? Because once they've identified the main idea and key words, some students listen only for the exact words they see written in the test booklet. But what often happens is other words or phrases of similar meaning are used in the audio, and not those exact words. The result is that the candidate gets lost. Words or phrases of similar meaning are called synonyms, and you must be aware of synonyms and how they can be used in the IELTS test. Let's take a closer look at what I mean. Let's look again at the example test question we looked at previously. We've already decided that the main idea is probably something to do with making a booking at a conference. Probably a booking at a conference hotel. We've also highlighted the keywords which we decided were caller, enquiring, conference, discount, cheap party rate, attendees and Manchester. Now before you hear the audio, think about possible synonyms for these words. Take some time now to think about or even write down some possible synonyms for the key words I just mentioned. Remember, in the test you'll only have a few seconds per question, so this must be done very quickly. I've already selected synonyms for the words on the screen. When you've thought about your choices, click on the highlighted key words to see my suggestions for synonyms. Now that we've located the key words, locked onto the main idea and decided upon some possible synonyms for those key words, we are now ready to listen. Here's part of the audio for the sample question we've used so far.
Hello, Parkway Hotel.
Yes, hello. I'm planning on being in Manchester next week for the conference. Could you possibly tell me if there's a special group rate for delegates who will be attending? I know I read this somewhere, but I'm having trouble remembering where it was.
Certainly, ma'am. I am aware that we advertised for this in the past.
You would have noticed that there were a couple of synonyms used for a couple of the key words. Cheap party rate was expressed as special group rate. Attendees was expressed as delegates. The use of synonyms like this occurs all the time in real life. And also in the IELTS listening exam. They'll be used to test how good a listener you are. Be ready for them. They'll often be used to distract you from the real answer, or cause you to doubt if your choice of an answer is correct. This is done on purpose to test your comprehension of the English language. Make sure you thoroughly understand this point. It's one of the very important keys to your IELTS listening test success. Let's do an example test and see how well you can apply the techniques we've discussed. Here's your opportunity to practice what you have learned with a sample test. Have a pen and paper ready to take notes and to write down your answers to the test questions. This will be a little different to an actual exam where you'll have the test booklet in front of you. But you can still apply the technique we're discussing. When you move to the next lesson, a sample listening test will appear. You will have only a short period of time before the audio starts. As soon as the test appears on the screen, you should quickly read the questions and locate the key words. In this case, write them down. Think about their synonyms and see if you can come up with the main ideas. Remember, on the real test you'll only have about 15 seconds to do this before the audio starts. When you're ready to do the sample test,
you will hear a conversation between Sally and a teacher at Mitchford University. First, take some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully, answering questions 21 to 26. Hello, Sally. How can I help you?
Well, I'm having a little trouble understanding some of the information given in a couple of my class lectures. I was wondering if you could give me some ideas on how to improve my listening and note-taking skills in class.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So what are the main problems you're facing?
Well, the lecturer seems to speak too quickly. I have difficulty writing down all that he says, and I can't often tell what's important and what's not important when he speaks.
I see. When it comes to listening at university, you've got to really listen carefully for long periods of time. Therefore, it's vital that you eliminate as many distractions as possible. Tell me, where's your seat usually in the lecture hall?
Usually at the back. I'm a little nervous in the class, so I feel less intimidated at the back of the room.
Let me suggest you change this. Sit in the front row. This really helps to eliminate distractions and will enable you to listen more carefully. You might also try taking a tape recorder as well. This way you'll be able to review what was said after the lecture is over. I know it's often difficult, but please ask questions. If you feel uncomfortable, you may choose to do this after class, but don't forget to do this.
That's really helpful. Thanks a lot. Do you have any suggestions about note-taking?
Yes, a lot of students find this difficult at first. My best advice is to come up with your own system, something that works well for you. I always encourage study groups. It's important to discuss the lecture and compare notes with each other to make sure you don't miss any important information. This really helps with revision of lectures.
Yes, I've been thinking of these kinds of things lately, so I guess I'm on the right track, which is comforting. Any suggestions for reading?
Yes, make sure you do the readings in advance of the class. Get a highlighter, any colour, it doesn't matter, and have it with you every time you start reading. Take the opportunity to look through the additional readings listed in the course outline and use this information to build your understanding of the subject.
Students, the audio is now completed. Check your answers with those on the screen. When you are ready. So, how go on the test? Did you remember to apply the 3 important steps? Before the audio started, did you remember to highlight and identify the key word? Did you identify the main idea being discussed? Were you able to think of synonyms of those key words? These are important techniques to improving your listening score. Well done. You have now completed this lesson. Before move on to the next lesson, make sure you fully understand the lesson above. I recommend you to review from the beginning. See you in the next lesson.